Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Ashtotar to the Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajikacharya Ashtotar to the Srimad, His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this first day of October 2025 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 9, the most confidential knowledge, text 32, page 414. Mam hi parta yapashritya ye api syu papayonayah striyo vaishyas tata shudras te api yanti param gatim mami parta vyapashritya yepi syu papayonayah Striyo Vaishyas Tatha Shudras Tepi Yanti Param Gatim Mam Hiparta Vyapashritya Yepi Syu Papayonayaha Striyo Vaishyas Tatha Shudras Tepi Yanti Param Gatim Mam Hiparta Vyapashritya Yepi Syu Papayonayaha Striyo Vaishyas Tatha Shudras Tepi Yanti Param Gatim Mam Hiparta Vyapashritya Yepi Syu Papayonayaha Striyo Vaishyas Tatha Shudras Tepi Yanti Param Gatim. Joseph. Mam Hiparta Vyapashritya Yepi Syu Papayonayaha Striyo Vaishyas Tatha Shudras Tepi Yanti Param Gatim. Luis, you want to try? Mam Hiparta Vyapashritya Yepi Syu Papayonayaha Striyo Vaishyas Tatha Shudras Tepi Yanti Param Gatim. Mam Hiparta Vyapashritya Yepi Syu Papayonayaha Striyo Vaishyas Tatha Shudras Tepi Yanti Param Gatim. Anyone online? Guess not. Mam of me, he, certainly, Partha, O son of Pritha. Vyapashritya, particularly taking shelter. Yea, those who, api, also, syuhu, are, papayonayaha, born of a lower family. Striyaha, women, vaishyaha, mercantile people, tata, also, shudraha, lower class men. Te, api, even they, yanti, go, param, to the supreme gatim, destination. Lord Krishna says to Arjuna, O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be low-born, women, vaishyas, merchants, or shudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination. Purport. It is clearly declared here by the Supreme Lord that in devotional service there is no distinction between the lower and higher classes of people. In the material conception of life, there are such divisions. But for a person engaged in transcendental devotional service to the Lord, there are not. Whatever qualities one may have that are due to taking birth in a high or low family, or being a woman or mercantile man, or belonging to a lower class, are forgotten. Everyone is eligible for the supreme destination. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 2.4.18, it is stated that even the lowest, who are called chandalas, dog-eaters, can be purified by association with a pure devotee. Therefore, devotional service and the guidance of a pure devotee are so strong that there is no discrimination between the lower and higher classes of men. Anyone can take to it. The most simple man taking shelter of the pure devotee can be purified by proper guidance. According to the different modes of material nature, men are classified in the mode of goodness, Brahmins, the mode of passion, Kshatriyas or administrators, the mixed modes of passion and ignorance, Vaishyas or merchants, and the mode of ignorance, Shudras or workers. Those lower than them are called chandalas, and they are born in sinful families. Generally, the association of those born in sinful families is not accepted by the higher classes. But the process of devotional service is so strong that the pure devotee of the Supreme Lord can enable people of all the lower classes to attain the highest perfection of life. This is possible only when one takes shelter of Krishna. As indicated here by the word vipashritya, one has to take shelter completely of Krishna. Then one can become much greater than the great jnanis and yogis. Om jnanatimirandasya jnanandana salakaya chakshu unmidatam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto him and to all members of the Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So this is one of many verses we find in the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in which the all-embracing ecumenical nature of Bhakti Yoga is declared. We find, I think this in the second canto, Prabhupada may be referring to this famous verse, Kirato hunanda polinda pokasha abir shumba javanakasharya yenyeta papa yadapashayashaya shudyandi tasmai prabhavishnave namaha. This is Shukadev's prayers to Krishna before he starts speaking the Bhagavatam to Parikshit. So what that says, these are different classes of people who are living outside of India, greater India, because Bharatabarsha at one point was the whole world, but the certain classes, they left what we now know as India, and they went to different places. Forget which is the kid. I know the Hunas, Kirata Huna are the Huns. They're the Germans, and then you get the Kusses, which are the Chinese, and those around them. Prabhupada said, yeah, those who can't grow mustaches. I never knew that about the Chinese, but maybe it's true. I don't know. And there are other classes of those who are outside of India. And said any of them, and here we are in America, we're far outside of India. If they take shelter of one who has taken shelter of Krishna, in other words, a pure devotee, they can become purified. And I worship Lord Vishnu. At each of these verses, the whole series of them ends in that way. So this is the wonderful quality of Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada proved it, coming to America. And then he went back to India, with the dancing white elephants. Have you seen that book? Beautiful book by Giriraj Swami. And the Indians were just agape. Here were these ecstatic Westerners in there, from America and Europe. And wherever they went, especially Surat. If you have a chance on YouTube, they have the series that Yadubar and his wife put together many years ago called Following Srila Prabhupada. And these are all kinds of videos that they mostly took, but they went back. This was done early enough, probably in the early 80s and mid 80s, and find those devotees who were in the video and ask them to narrate them. So you get all kinds of back information. It's very fascinating. And one of them shows the devotees in Surat, which is a city in western Gujarat. Yeah. And it's very devotional, right? Have you been there? All kinds of devotees there. And they went there, and all the townspeople would come out. They would offer the devotees garlands as they walked down the street, and they're chanting ecstatically. You see Yamuna there, the famous devotees. It's really wonderful to see. And Prabhupada, they would come just to get his darshan. I mean, not even to see him. He had a room up on the second floor, and he would come out just to show himself and bless them, and everything. And it was a very wonderful experience for those who were there. It just gave them so much. Imagine, walking down Garnet Avenue and people coming out, oh, the Hare Krishna, this is Haribol, Haribol. It's hard to imagine. Huh? Dwarka is also in Gujarat.
So the people are mostly Krishna worshippers.
Okay, because they're near Dwarka.
And their Jains are also there. So
Wait, do you think this? Oh, the Jains are there too, huh?
that state has mostly Jains, and that is mostly they eat pure vegetarian food.
Yes.
And it's no alcohol consumption in the entire state.
So it's a very kind of sattvic mode of goodness, yeah. So anyway, by doing that, Prabhupada is showing that this verse is a reality, because who are these Americans? They were basically Papayonis, but they weren't Vaishyas, whatever. There were women there, but they had been purified, obviously, you know, and you could see and how ecstatic they were in devotional service, and then they would go out to meet the people and get them to become life members and so forth. So this is an important verse, and you can see how it ties in with Lord Chaitanya's movement. You know, he went everywhere. He just went, you know, chanting Hare Krishna. Whoever came and chanted, they were blessed. Yeah, they were blessed by Lord Chaitanya and purified. Haridas Thakur, who was a Muslim, you know, he was Acharya, and so and it's very encouraging. Is that there's nobody is barred. Nobody is barred, especially by birth. You know, now. The key is Vyabhashritya, Mami Padu, those who take full shelter of me. And that also means those who are taking, how do you take full shelter of Krishna? Well, you have to take shelter of his representative today. You know, when he was on the planet, that was one thing. So that, with that caveat there, then the rest of the verse, you know, they may be born in sinful families, they may be women, they may be merchants, whatever, it doesn't matter. And this, Yepi Yanti Param Gatim. Now, Prabhupada, he would often use the word approach to mean attain, you see. But approach is not really equivalent to attain. And so Jayavada Maharaj made this attain, because it says they go to the supreme destination, they attain it, you know. And I was suggesting that we even nip the can, because the can attain doesn't say you do attain. I gave an example say someone who's applying to Harvard University, you know, and so they have very nice. Do they still have SAT exams? The SAT exams, yeah? They still have that. So they, you know, 700, 800. They got that. They're accepted by Harvard, and then the mothers and the mother and the father said, "Oh, it's wonderful you got into Harvard, you know, and now we've paid all your fees. Now you can go." But they don't say, now you will go, because you may not decide to go. You may go here or there, you see. So saying you can attain it is one thing. Saying you will attain it is another step. And that's what Krishna is actually saying here. Te pi yanti param gatim. They go to the Supreme. Vyapashritya, if they take complete shelter of me in the proper way. So the question, the idea is that someone reading the Bhagavad Gita, we shouldn't be discouraged that we can't do it, because Krishna says, oh, if you just take full shelter of me. So our question really should be, well, how do I go about doing that, you see? And that was Prabhupada's great victory, that he set up a society all over the world now, but even at the beginning, where you could actually take full shelter of Krishna. Now is a big surrender, you know, especially in those days, the early days. If you wanted to join the Hare Krishna, you had to move in the temple. Yeah, there was no congregation in the early days, basically. And then you had the advantage of good association and regulation, and that could actually you could actually make advancement. It's very hard to do it just on your own, you know, without that, you know. So, but now, you know, there's all this facility, and the internet is there. You can attend Mangalarti no matter where you are, you know. And it's a great advantage, but it's also can be a great distraction, and you know, like anything else. So this is a very important verse to know, and that it's encouraging. You know, Striyo Vaishya Dashudas. Prabhupada, you know, this whole thing where he always uses the word man. It's man. Well, what about the women? There's one purport in the Adi Lila, which is very encouraging, and Prabhupada is saying, he's talking about preaching, about the book distribution, and these ladies are also going out, and they're just as good as the men. You know, if they're going out and doing it like that. He actually says that in there. So you can read that, you know. And as I sometimes meant, when he uses the word man, you know, he really means human being, you know, obviously. And those who were there when, you know, Prabhupada was encouraging the women so much, you know. Now, you know, he thought ideally they could get married and have, you know, in a family and be protected. But there's so many women, they didn't get married, but they did get married, but that wasn't their real focus in life. Like Yamuna Devi, she had such a prominent role to play. You know, she was a wonderful singer, wonderful cook. She published a cookbook that won all kinds of awards, And she was chosen because of her expertise in deity worship to set the standards for worship in Vrindavan for the Krishna Balaram temple when it first opened. Yes, and so she had a lot of responsibility. And now, I mean, I don't know why I get criticized whenever I mention this, but I'll say it anyway. In the United States, you have 5 or 6 temples that are being run very effectively by ladies. The one, most famous one, most well-known is the Alachua Temple. Mukya Devi has been there for at least 10 years or more, 12 years, running very competently. In Washington, D.C., or Potomac, the temple is run by this Vrindavaneshwari. Hare Krishna. Darshan will be at 8:15, and there'll be prasadam too. Hare Krishna. And in Tucson, right nearby, this is being run. Sundamani, who used to be here, she was here when I came, and she shortly left and went to Tucson. She's running the temple there. So generally what happens is when women get the temples, they stay. You know, they build it up. Also in Denver, is being run by a lady. So that's, you know, it's not, I mean, it's not Vedic, as it were, but it works, you know, because it's, you get empowered if you're surrendered. That's the point. All right, let's go on. Text 33, page 415. Kim puna brahmana punya bhakta raja shayastata anityam sukham lokam imam prapya bhajasvamam. How much more this is so, in other words, for those who take full shelter of me, how much more this is so of the righteous Brahmins, the devotees, and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary, miserable world, engage in loving service unto me. Purport. In this material world, there are classifications of people. But after all, this world is not a happy place for anyone. It is clearly stated here, anityam asukham lokam. This world is temporary and full of miseries, not habitable for any sane gentleman. This world is, that he's quoting his Guru Dev, Bhaktisiddhanta would say that. This world is not a place for any gentleman. This world is declared by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be temporary and full of miseries. That's also in the 8th chapter. Dukkhalayam shastratam. There's a line. Dukkhalaya means the abode of misery, and shastratam, not permanent. Some philosophers, especially Mayavadi philosophers, say that this world is false. But we can understand from the Bhagavad Gita that the world is not false. It is temporary. There is a difference between temporary and false. This world is temporary, but there is another world which is eternal. This world is miserable, but the other world is eternal and blissful. Arjuna was born in a saintly royal family. To him also the Lord says, "Take to my devotional service and come quickly back to Godhead, back home." No one should remain in this temporary world, full as it is with miseries. Everyone should attach himself to the bosom of the Supreme Personality of Godhead so that he can be eternally happy. The devotional service of the Supreme Lord is the only process by which all problems of all classes of men can be solved. Everyone should therefore take to Krishna consciousness and make his life perfect. So you can see Prabhupada is kind of giving the conclusion here, and the next verse is the last verse of the chapter, very important. So, anityam asukham lokam. That's something we have to believe and accept and take it as an impetus to practice devotional service. This world is, yes, there are some pleasures here, no one can deny it, but they're very fleeting. They're temporary. And inevitably you meet with disaster. Everything is taken away. So mrityu sarvaharashchaham. Krishna says, at death I take everything away. So what's the point of investing your time and your attention and your energy and your hopes in building up something here? Yes, family life can be there, but in the Vedic culture, it has a time limit. It's understood that the latter part of life should be one of renunciation, aiming to become liberated from all material desires and go back to Godhead. So this theme and this fact has to be absorbed to get the impetus to practice devotional service with determination. And that is that there's no point in trying to build up something here or hope for some happiness in this world. It always ends in disaster in one sense, because you die, and everything that you had during this life is taken away and forgotten. You have your mind, intelligence, and ego. That doesn't die, but then you begin a new life, and this kind of slate is clean, and you start as a baby, and hopefully human life, but that's not necessarily. It can be a non-human life, subhuman life. So there's no point. We have to direct our energies towards something, and also in human life, we have to direct our inquisitiveness. What are we asking? What are we looking for? Now with that, you grow up and you can't even speak yet, so you're looking for food and security and mother. That's it. Where's mother? If the mother isn't there, then it's a crisis for the child, and she's crying. He or she is crying, right? So even from childhood, you're trying. And as you grow up, then you understand what the material world has to offer, and you're asking, where is this? How can I get this? How can I avoid that? This is all questions and answers. But as we should know, at the beginning of the Vedanta Sutra, first of all, what does the name Vedanta Sutra mean? What is a sutra, as opposed to a shloka? No. Aphorism. Yes. Dharmaraj, he's right. It's an aphorism, a little saying. You won't find any shlokas in the Vedanta Sutra. You'll find these little aphorisms that need explanation, and that's why there's commentaries. So the very first sutra is a call. It says, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. Let's analyze that. There's like 4 words there. Atato Brahma Jigyasa. So Jigyasa means inquisitive. And Brahma is Brahman, the source of everything, the Supreme Spirit. But the thing is, we have to inquire into the Supreme Brahman, because we're also Brahman. What is another? I don't think this is a Vedanta Sutra, but it's a famous Aham Brahmasmi. Isn't it? Very famous. I am spirit. That alone is something to contemplate. I am spirit. I'm not this body. That's the point. I am pure spirit, eternal, like that. So, but what is the Supreme Brahman, the Supreme Spirit? And you say, well, what is that all about? Next sutra, second sutra. Here's the answer. Here's what Brahman is about. Janmad yasya yataha. Janma is birth or creation. Right? We know that. Janma adi. What comes after birth? Growth, sustenance, and then diminishment, and then disappearance. So it's creation and maintenance and destruction. That's what we have to inquire. What is the Supreme Brahman, which is the source of creation, maintenance, and destruction? And we know from the Bhagavad Gita that is Krishna. It's not some impersonal force or accident or anything like that. It's the Supreme Personality of God. He says that, first of all, in the very first words of the first verse of the 18,000 verse Srimad Bhagavatam, that describes what expands on that. Janmad yasya yataha. The Bhagavatam verses, Janmad yasya yaton vayati tatatashcharte shabhigya swarate. It describes that it's the Supreme Person. The very first words of the Bhagavatam, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. You have the worship of Vasudeva. And then the first verse describes what he does. He's created this whole business. He's enlightened Brahma from within. And it goes on like that. And he's in the spiritual world, completely detached from this and enjoying, his life there. So the Srimad Bhagavatam is the best commentary on the Vedanta Sutra by the same author. This is why Lord Chaitanya didn't write one, and he didn't require one to be written, although eventually a Gaudiya Vaishnava Vedanta Sutra commentary was written by Baladev Vijabhushan, who's the commentator on this book, that Bhagavatam, the Bhagavad Gita. So the point is that as human beings, we should take the basic facts and principles as taught by the Bhagavad Gita and reiterated throughout, and that we are eternal living souls, not the body. Dehi nosmin yata dehi. Right near the beginning of the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, of Krishna here, the third verse in the second chapter that he teaches. So, just as we've been transmigrating in this body, dehinosmin yata dehe komaram yobananjana, just as the soul in the body, dehino asmin yata dehe, has been going through different bodies in the form of komara, young boy, komara, yovanam, the youth, and then jara, old age, right? All of us are somewhere along that spectrum. I'm probably farther along than all the rest of you. I'm not going to insult anybody, but I'm 78. So my body, I can remember some things from when childhood and adolescence. It's all there. My body was there, but I had a different body. I had a different soul body. My mind was different. So what is me? Where am I in all this? I'm the soul, the unchanging soul, the consciousness within. But my mind is changing, body is changing, everything is changing. So we want to, the real identity is the soul. We want to find out who is that? What does it mean? And we find out from the Gita, from the Bhagavatam, from the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that soul is a person, just like Krishna. We are angsha of Krishna. Mamai vangsho jiva loka jiva bhutsana. So just as Krishna is a person, we're also a person. And we have his qualities, at least many of them, in a small degree. We have intelligence, we have some creative power, enjoying power, and so forth. But clearly we're limited. And we learn from the Bhagavad Gita, and we learn from the other books, that our real success in life and happiness, and we promise, unending, ever-increasing happiness, anandam buddhivardhanam, is to return back to that original home that we left. This is the spiritual world. And there's these nice verses I'll just share with you. This is in the Brahma Samhita. You may have heard these before. Wonderful description of what's in the spiritual world. Shreya kanta padama purusha kalpatadavo. Dhuma bhumis chinta maniganamahi toyamamatam. Kata ganam natyam gamanam apibangshi priyasaki. Chidanandam jyoti padama pitadasvajam apicha. Sayatra chirabdi sravadi sadabhimjashta sumahan nimesha rakyova bhajati nahiyatrapi samayak bhaje shweta dvipam tamahamiha golokamitiham vedantaste santak chirividadachara katipaye. So Shriya Kanta, Shriya is the goddess of fortune. Shriya Kanta, actually I think it's plural. So there, all the goddesses of fortune are the lover of the Supreme Person. Shriya Kanta, Kanta, the lover, the original lover is Padma Purusha, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Shriya Kanta, Padma Purusha, Kalpatadavo Dhuma. All the trees there are desire trees. You can go there and get beautiful ripe mangoes, or you can get plums, you can get dates, whatever you want, because the tree is alive, it's conscious. Kalpatadavo Druma Bhumish Chintamani Ganamahi. All the ground is made of Chintamani gem. Right. Toya Mamatam. The water is all nectar. Kata Ganam. There's no talking there. Everyone is singing. You don't just talk. You chant verses. Kata Ganam, Natyam Gamanam. The walking is dancing. Mangshi Priyasaki. And Krishna's dear friend, the flute, is always playing in the background. You can hear him playing Priyasaki. Chidanandam Jyotir, you can Chidanandam Jyoti Paramabhi Tadasvajam, you can always taste the blissful effulgence emanating from everything. It's an ocean of bliss, ever increasing. And then it describes Sayatra Chirabi. All the Surabhi cows are there, and they're so happy that they're always, I don't know if you could say they're leaking milk, but their milk is coming out because of their joy. So there's a lot of milk on the ground. And then here's a really interesting one. Not a second passes away. It's always the eternal present. There's no past, there's no future. No one gets old and everything like that. And then he says, this is Goloka, the name is Goloka Vrindavan, and it's understood by a very few pure souls who walk this earth. This is Lord Brahma speaking. So this is the reality, and we have to have faith in that. And the wonderful thing is, if you follow the principles of Bhakti Yoga as given by Lord Chaitanya and through his disciplic succession, then you'll begin to experience, to some degree, your spiritual nature. The world will look different to you. You can say, I remember reading that verse, Krishna is the light of the sun and the moon. Well, I see the light of the sun there. And that's come Krishna's powers. How wonderful, wonderful power he has. And he's providing it with us. It's not too close and burning us up. It's not too far and freezing. It's just the right distance, Krishna's soul, he's providing, So you can begin to see him at every step in your life. And if you're following Bhakti Yoga, then you're always on a mission for Krishna. Even at my morning walk, I learned a lot on my morning walk. I'm staying healthy with Krishna, and I'm chanting. I'm not just walking, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. I walk by this yard gym, They're making a lot of noise in there. I don't know if you've been there, So, but it's all like mode of passion, And they're not doing it for Krishna, They're just doing it to keep the body strong so they can enjoy more, like that. I mean, I can understand that. I did that when I was young too. But it doesn't really help. The body gets older. What's the point? But if you keep your spiritual muscles strong by practicing sadhana, bhakti, you can feel, let me say this. You don't have to feel the apprehension that comes from getting older and that everything is going to be taken away. Oh, I can't do this anymore. I can't do that. My children don't call me. And, that. No, I'm with Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Ram. And it helps to memorize shlokas. There's so many nectar shlokas. I'll give you some samples. This is the Bhagavatam is filled. The prayers of the gopis. It starts out with this verse. I put it in a poem. Barha. This is an introductory verse. Barha pidam natabadabapu karnayo karnikaram. Bibran vasa kanaka kabisham vajayanting chamalam randran veno hadadasudeha purdehin gopa vrindar vrindaranyam swapadadamanam prabhishan gita kirti. With lovely peacock plume upon his head and fragrant flower placed upon each ear, he enters Braja's woods with graceful tread, a handsome dancing actor without peer. His golden yellow raiment brightly glows, his splendid garland reaches to his knees, and from his luscious lips the nectar flows, and fills his flute with charming melodies. As Krishna thus begins his blissful day, with cowherd friends who sing his glory sweet, he beautifies Vrindavan's forest way, with fine impressions of his lotus feet. And that's just the introductory verse. Then, I didn't put these into the poem though, but then the gopis, they can't go out with him, but they're visualizing him as he's going out. And they're talking to him. Akshan batam padamidam napadam vidhama sakya pashun vibesha yato vayas. So they're saying, oh, my dear friends, they're talking to each other, the gopis. For those who have eyes, there's no greater object of vision than to see the two sons of Nanda Maharaj, Balaram and Krishna, entering the forest and playing their flutes and walking with their friends. And they're with him mentally all day. They're doing their duties, but they meet together and talk about him. And one of the verses is so famous. We're here in Govardhan, and it's glorifying Govardhan Hill as the best servant of Krishna. Govardhan Puja is coming up this month, a couple of weeks. Hantaya mandalabala haridasya varyo yad rama Krishna chadanas padashap pramoda manam tanodisaha goganayos tayo yat pani yasuya vasakanda takanda mulai. So the gopis are back home. Now anyone who goes to Vrindavan, even today, you got to, you usually get in a car or a bus to go from the Krishna Balaram temple in Ramanreti to Govardhan Hill. It's quite a ways. So, but their gopis are there in the village doing their duties, and Krishna is out now, and they visualize him at Govardhan Hill. So they say this hill, meaning they're so intimately thinking of him that they feel like they're right next to him. So this hill, which is 20 miles away. Handaya mandadabala, ladies, friends, Haridasya Varya is the best servant of Hari. Why? Yad Rama Krishna Charanaspadasha Pramoda. First of all, it's very ecstatic because Krishna and Balaram are walking on it and leaving their impressions of their footprints. So that's a very ecstatic hill. Spadasha Pramoda. Manam tanoti, and with great respect, it offers beautiful, nice gourmet grass. Let's say gourmet grass for the cows, and for the boys and Krishna, he offers caves where they can play. When sometimes it rains and they'll play in there, And it has edible roots that you can eat. In other words, it's serving Krishna and his friends and the cows, and so it's very dear to Krishna. It's the best servant. So anyway, this and they go on. I won't go into it, but this is a 21st chapter. This is the Bhagavad Gita, and so many nice commentaries. I remember Shivaram Swami wrote a wonderful book called Bhagavad Gita. It was the first of his main books that he wrote, and he had taken all kinds of commentaries on that Bhagavad Gita and woven them into a very nice, description. So these things, just as I remember as a child, before I even thought there was a God, I was raised kind of an atheistic family. But my mother was a reading teacher, and I was always with the books, science fiction. And I remember reading Dickens. It was about some orphan girl or something. I forget what it was about. But he was so skilled with the words that you felt you were right there, when a skilled writer can really evoke the moods and everything, And that it's much, the great writers of our literature. I mean, the Sanskrit is there's no comparison to that beauty of that language, And you get, wonderful writers like, Krishnadas Kaviraj, who wrote the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But before he wrote the Chaitanya Charitamrita, he wrote the Govinda Lilamrita. And I'll just share one verse. It describes the Krishna's pastimes in the 8 different divisions of the day. It's a wonderful meditation. And there's this one verse, if you just get, I remember memorizing, coming across this verse and I memorized it. It's meditating on Krishna coming back from the forest. He's walking, with the cows. And just listen to the poetry. The beginning and the end of each line rhymes. Very difficult to do. Denu vrindamanamanamayantam, venu gitamamatam visrajantam, renu dushitatalakabantam, kenu vikshasamayor namudantam. Dhammaraj knows this verse from a previous life. It's there from a previous life. It's kind of So Denu Vrindam, the herds of cows, right? You have Denu Vrindam, Anumandam, very leisurely, Krishna's walking behind. Anumandamayantam. And as he's doing that, of course, he's playing the flute. So you got Denu, then you have Venu. Denu Vrindam Anumandam. Venu Gitam Amitam Visrajantam. Visrajantam means he's creating beautiful songs as he plays the flute. Venu Gitam Amritam, nectar, you see. Venu Gitam Amritam Visrajantam. And then all those cows, thousands of cows, they're kicking up all this sacred dust, right? Braj. And it's all powdering his hair. This is like an ornament on his beautiful black. So you get Venu, then Renu. Renu is dust, right? Renu Rushita Chalalakabantam. Chalalakabantam means his hair is swaying side to side and it's getting all powdered and like that. So you get Denu Vrindamanamanamayantam, Venu Gitamamatam Visrajantam, Renu Rushita Chalalakabantam, Kenu Viksha Samayor Namudantam. Who, indeed, Kenu Viksha, seeing this sight, would not attain the ultimate bliss. Mood is a word with joy, right? And antam is the end. Who indeed would not attain the highest bliss by seeing this sight. Now, if you memorize this verse, it's not very difficult. I didn't put it in English poem, but you can memorize it. I'll give it to you. And then when you chant it, you'll see it in your mind's eye. You'll see the scene. And if you keep chanting that verse, chanting Hare Krishna, you'll be in ecstasy. So that's what we have, an ocean of literature that's describing Krishna in this way. Bhagavatam is the pillar of it. CC and writings of the Goswamis. I can give you so many things, Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. So that's how we can stay with Krishna throughout the day, remembering him in various ways. Of course, chanting Hare Krishna is most important. And that's how we can surrender to Krishna and whatever, and doing that, other services for him. And then tepi yanti param gatim. We'll go to that final abode. Okay, it's 8 o'clock. Any discussion on those points? I kind of got a little far afield, but I think it was okay. Now, did I do 33? I didn't do 33 yet. Yes, I did. Anityam sukham lokam. 34. That's the last one. Okay. All right, we'll read this one, and I think we'll start again on Monday with this because it's such an important verse. Manmana bhava madbhakto Madhyaji mam namaskuru. Mame vaishyasi yuktaivam. Let's try that line again. Mame vaishyasi yuktaivam. Atmanam matparayanaha. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee, offer obeisances to me, and worship me. Being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. And this is the most confidential knowledge, right? The title of the chapter, it's repeated in the 18th chapter, 1865. Purport. In this verse, it is clearly indicated that Krishna consciousness is the only means of being delivered from the clutches of this contaminated material world. Sometimes unscrupulous commentators distort the meaning of what is clearly stated here, that all devotional service should be offered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Unfortunately, unscrupulous commentators divert the mind of the reader to that which is not at all feasible. Such commentators do not know that there is no difference between Krishna's mind and Krishna. Krishna is not an ordinary human being. He is the absolute truth. His body, his mind, and he himself are one and absolute. It is stated in the Kurma Purana, as it is quoted by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami in his Anubhashya comments on Chaitanya Charitamrita, 5th chapter, Adi Lila, verses 41 to 48. Deha dehi vabedo yam neshvare vidyate kruchit. This means that there is no difference in Krishna, the Supreme Lord, between himself and his body. But because the commentators do not know this secret of Krishna, they hide Krishna and divide his personality from his mind or from his body. Although this is sheer ignorance of the science of Krishna, some men make profit out of misleading people. There are some who are demonic. They also think of Krishna, but enviously, just like King Kamsa, Krishna's uncle. Kamsa, was also thinking of Krishna always, but he thought of Krishna as his enemy. Kamsa was always in anxiety, wondering when Krishna would come to kill him. That kind of thinking will not help us. One should be thinking of Krishna in devotional love. That is bhakti. One should cultivate the knowledge of Krishna continuously. What is that favorable cultivation? It is to learn from a bona fide teacher. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and we have several times explained that his body is not material, but is eternal, blissful knowledge, Satchidananda. This kind of talk about Krishna will help one become a devotee. Understanding Krishna otherwise from the wrong source will prove fruitless. One should therefore engage his mind in the eternal form, the primal form of Krishna. With conviction in his heart that Krishna is the Supreme, he should engage himself in worship. There are hundreds of thousands of temples in India for the worship of Krishna, and devotional service is practiced there. When such practice is made, one has to offer obeisances to Krishna. One should lower his head before the deity and engage his mind, his body, his activities, everything. That will make one fully absorbed in Krishna without deviation. This will help one transfer to Krishna Loka. One should not be deviated by unscrupulous commentators. One must engage in the 9 different processes of devotional service, beginning with hearing and chanting about Krishna. Pure devotional service is the highest achievement of human society. Well, that's a memorable sentence. The 7th and 8th chapters of the Bhagavad Gita have explained pure devotional service to the Lord that is free from speculative knowledge, mystic yoga, and fruitive activities. Those who are not purely sanctified may be attracted by different features of the Lord, like the impersonal Brahma Jyoti and localized Paramatma. But a pure devotee directly takes to the service of the Supreme Lord. There's a beautiful poem about Krishna in which it is clearly stated that any person who is engaged in the worship of demigods is most unintelligent and cannot achieve at any time the supreme award of Krishna. Now, a lot of devotees have tried to figure out what that poem is, what that verse is, but I don't know anyone who's succeeded. I haven't, certainly. The devotee in the beginning may sometimes fall from the standard, but still he should be considered superior to all other philosophers and yogis. One who always engages in Krishna consciousness should be understood to be a perfectly saintly person. His accidental non-devotional activities will diminish, and he will soon be situated, without any doubt, in complete perfection. The pure devotee has no actual chance to fall down, because the Supreme Godhead personally takes care of his pure devotees. Therefore, the intelligent person should take directly to the process of Krishna consciousness and happily live in this material world. He will eventually receive the supreme award of Krishna. Thus ends the Bhagavatam purports to the 9th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of the most confidential knowledge. So, we're kind of out of time. This is a very important chapter. It's worth reviewing repeatedly. And this verse, Krishna says in the 18th chapter, text 65, he says, Manmana bhavamad bhakto majjadim namaskaro. Before that he says, now I'm going to again tell you the most confidential thing, and that's this. But he changed the second line, it's more intimate. Manmana bhavamad bhakto majjadim namaskaro mama evaishasi satyam te pratijane priyosi me. I promise you this because you're my very dear friend, that you'll come to me. So that promise is for all of us, that if we simply do these 4 things, always keep the mind on Krishna and worship Him, become His devotee, and offer obeisances to Him, then we can go back to Godhead and rejoin our old friends. And we'll see each other there in our original forms. That'll be nice. You might be a cow, Joe. That's an exalted position. They're just as conscious as... Okay, so one real quick one. I don't think you've heard this one because I don't see it. This is every body dies. Everybody dies. Nobody dies. Wake up and open your eyes. You're not that body, you're a pure spirit soul. Chant the holy name and attain life's goal. Or a sweet one. This is one of the sweetest verses I know. Madodam, madodam, papadasya vibor. Madodam, madodam, vadanam, madodam. Madogandi madusmita metadaho. Madodam, 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 madodam. You know this one. You've heard it. Sweet, sweet is my dear Lord's form. Sweet is still his face so fair. But his honey-scented gentle smile is sweet beyond compare. Hare Krishna. Oh, we have 6 minutes. Another sweet verse about the holy name this time. Madhura madhuna mektan mangalam mangalanam sakala nigamavalli satpalan shitswarupam sakadapi padigitam shaddaya helayava bhagabadanadamatram tadiyet Krishna nama. Of sweet things, it's the sweetest you will taste at any time. Of things that bring good fortune, it's the perfect paradigm. Of all the Vedic writings, it's the transcendental fruit, the very form of spirit, unalloyed and absolute. When uttered even once with faith or uttered once with none, from birth and death surely will deliver anyone. And in the end it brings pure love for Krishna, life's true aim. So cast away all doubts and chant Shri Krishna's holy name. And on that note, we'll adjourn for Arti and wonderful darshan of Shri Radha Giridhari. Glories to Srila Prabhupada.